2020 brought, as you know, a pandemic. We had to step back and rethink things, and we put it aside for a year. 2021, we were still questioning on what to do to move forward. Some of our volunteers didn't feel comfortable being an ambassador. Come on in. Comfortable being an ambassador. Come on in. Which I completely understood. But we still had 11 volunteers who served 146 hours. 30 over what was given in 2019. Wow. And we have 30 over what was given in 2019. Wow. And we have one very special volunteer who put in a lot of hours. And I will recognize her a little later. But we had also a very successful national night out where we had 13 potential ambassadors on board to join us for training next spring. So 20 plus volunteers to help fill the hours that are needed. When you look at a summer of volunteering fully from Thursday to Sunday, 8 hours a day, that calculates out to 416 hours. That's a lot of hours in the summer. We need a lot of people on deck and on board. We're a quarter of the way there. Without further ado, I would like to recognize the 11 ambassadors that provided hours to the playground this summer. Many of them were not unable to join us here tonight, so I'd like to recognize them first. We had 5 college students that came out, and first off, Cameron McCoyak, she donated 14 hours. Lauren Schwartz, 12 hours. Abby Matthews, 10 hours. Brooklyn Runty, 2 hours. And Ashlyn Kuharski, 2 hours. Dan and I donated a total cumulative together 8 hours of their time. And on a side note, although she is not officially an ambassador, she has put a lot of time in to helping at the playground since it was built. In 2016, it was built. In 2016, there was a little free library there, and she works tirelessly to collect books and to deliver books to that little library for our patrons to take one home, to read on site, and bring one back in donations. So her name is Karen Vandermolen, and she is very much appreciated. While not an ambassador, she's an ambassador. It certainly helps at the playground. So the four ambassadors that are sitting here before you tonight, I would like to distinguished officials. Again, here, I'll move over. And as I call your name, if you could come up to receive your certificate and for donating your time and talent. We really appreciate all that you do. I'd like to welcome Jeffrey Steiner. Oh yeah, go right down the line. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming to Mass.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming to Mass.
It wasn't that long.
No.
Our next ambassador to recognize Christine Dunn. She actually helped me out and helped build the playground. Thank you, Christine. Thank you. Thank you. Our next ambassador is a bit of a character. I'd written out on our Facebook page not to reply in the comments, and he didn't. Written out on our Facebook page not to reply in the comments, and he didn't follow the instructions and did anyway. But he's kind of the grandpa of the ambassadors out there on the playground. Kids really look up to him, and he's done it. He came to me because he wasn't able to volunteer, so we opened up a Monday night or Monday evening shift for Jim Collins to come out and. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gramps.
our last, but certainly not least, ambassador came on board this last year, went through training, and I actually met her at a different organization and said, I want to be part of this program. And she not only became part of the program, but she dove right in. This next ambassador donated 68 hours. 68 hours of her time this winter. And I can't thank her
Wait, let me get it.
And she's not stopping there. She's doing so much in our community.
I'll be back. And we're bringing more friends next year.
Yes,
so.
we have a plan.
This is the best ever. I can't tell you how much fun this was. It was good for my heart.
Thanks,
Good
Kathy.
for my soul. It was good for my heart.
Thanks,
Good for
Kathy.
my soul.
Kathy's been a constituent of mine for 20 some odd years.
And I. Yes.
Oh boy. There's stories there, I think.
There's one recognition that was in the packet that's not in Shelley's hands. The packet that's not in Shelley's hands. And that's to recognize Shelley. I think we all know the story of the playground, and it was inspired by Kayla, Shelley's daughter. But the drive that unbelievable in. So, thank you, Shelley.
How many hours, Shelley, did you have in it?
Yeah.
You can't count that.
It doesn't matter about the hours.
Don't see me hugging.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, again. Thank you. Oh, yes, can we get a photo? Yes, I'm glad I said something. Can we get it with the commission?
Yes.
The ambassador?
Which over?
I can take the photo if
Yes.
The ambassador?
Which over?
I can take the photo if you like.
We'll just go stand over here.
Stand it.
Let's have a party.
With the flag there?
Yeah.
Should we do it with
You're
the,
with
or
us.
maybe in front of the table, though?
What?
So you're with us now, let's go.
All right.
Yep.
I thought you wanted to do it in front of them.
Oh, it's part of the thank you sign?
In front of the thank you sign or in front of
Yeah.
in front of the thank you sign or in front of
Yeah. That's it.
how
That'd
flexible?
probably be best. Yeah. All right. Mayor, you coming in? Yeah. That doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't work. Yeah, let's turn that off. Yeah. There you go.
There you go.
There we go.
No, you need that under.
Yeah, but it's right on the space.
Space.
Should put it.
I need you to swing just a little bit more after
Okay,
like
switch
each other.
Whoops.
Come on, Jim. Come on
There
in
you go.
here.
Actually, that works really well.
Try one.
All right, when we're ready, we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1. Picture and take a couple of them. 1 picture and take a couple of them.
Glenn, go halfway. Try again. Keep going.
I'm half expecting the bat signal to come.
Mary, you're worse than my father.
All right, I got
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. All right, thanks. Yes. Well, yes.
There's gonna be everyone in there.
Okay.
To continue skipping around on the agenda, the next item, we have a request from Franklin resident Kate Lee and Abigail Martin to place a little free library in the city park. Ladies, would you like to
So Kate and I had the idea not too long ago to put little free libraries in parks around Franklin. We are working on this as a project for school, but this was a project that we wanted to do even outside of school. So we want to take little free libraries parks around Franklin that we have put pictures on a sheet of paper for you guys to look at. We plan to build them and also to help put them up. We have decided the best way to put them in the ground would be to dig a hole and then to cement them in to ensure that they are safely placed. We plan to run a full district school-wide book drive to get books to place in them.
Fantastic. Sounds like fantastic. Sounds like a great idea. Yeah, good job. Does DPW have any objections to this?
Well, I mean, it's a great idea, but, you know, we do see vandalism with them. So, you know, we do see vandalism with them. So that is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
They come in and they destroy the books and throw them out in the rain, and that just so that's kept in mind that
Sure.
it is happening more and more.
Is there a safer place maybe to put them? Is there a safer place maybe to put them than, like, not near the playground or something like that? Like by the building?
I guess I don't have any ideas for the location. I guess we have. And then also just, I don't know if anybody's keeping track of where they are in the city. As long as there's none near these parks, I don't know.
As far as the method of installation, do you guys prefer just a post driven into the ground, or would you prefer it to be concreted in?
It doesn't need to be concrete. I mean, you could put it in like a mailbox post.
Sure.
Stone in,
3-4 feet down.
Stone around it, and that would do it.
Sure.
easier to replace.
Yeah, it's easier to install, easier to replace. So, questions?
I think it's a great idea, and no matter what you do these days, you always risk vandalism, so I certainly wouldn't want to see that prohibit us from doing it.
When were you guys looking to install these? Would this be a spring project?
We wanted to do it in December, but we understand that weather might stop us from doing them in the spring.
Okay. So, anybody have any thoughts or emotion or?
And I particularly like placing near the buddy bench, because it might be a great idea if buddies are meeting there, and maybe an older kid would read to a younger kid or something like that right there. So that's, I like nearing the benches, or if a mom's watching kids play at the playground and want to grab a book, that's a great idea. And I agree. I don't know what the answer is in terms of vandalism. It's just a shame that these situations are happening. So I do hope if the commission agrees and in contact with you just in case these types of things happen, or maybe you'll get help with cleanup or something like that. I mean, and hopefully that won't happen because that just is really stinky. What materials would you be using to make the boxes? Would it be wood? Would it be a composite?
We were thinking like a mix of different things, because we were also thinking about getting like local companies to donate to us for our things.
Mm-hmm. So we were talking about doing wood, but then painting it and doing some sort of sealant over it to help waterproof it. Mm-hmm. And so it would be wood. There's some fiberglass, smaller materials like metal might be involved, but that's about it.
Do you guys think we need to see a final drawing of what they look like before they go in? Okay.
What it's made of.
Sure.
We don't want to take on a big maintenance issue.
Right.
No, understandable. I think we are all in favor of the idea. We'd just love to see you guys have just a sketch or a drawing of what they'll look like in like the materials before I guess we give the complete approval in theory. But I think the idea and the logic behind it, I think everybody's in favor of. But I think the idea and the logic behind it, I think everybody's in favor of. Do you think by the next meeting we have, which would be early December, you guys would have that? be able to come up with something along those lines?
Yeah, I think we
Okay. Fantastic. Do we need a motion on that at all, Marion, or? Fantastic. Do we need a motion on that at all, Marion, or?
You can table it and then once we come back.
Okay. Excellent. Well, hopefully we'll see you guys back here in a couple weeks, and we'll get it started, and hopefully the ground isn't frozen and we can get them in for you. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The ground isn't frozen and we can get them in for you. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job, ladies. I guess we'll hop back into the regularly agenda here. So we would open it up to a citizen comment period. Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve Olson, 8091 South Mill Street Court, here in Franklin. Spent the afternoon with my village manager, my village presidents and mayors with a presentation on a report that was just issued 2 weeks ago by the Wisconsin, what to do with them. I thought it was important that here's 3 copies, but you guys should take a look. At this meeting, one of the options is give the smaller parks to the communities for their maintenance. But I will tell you that the reason one of the reasons I bring it here tonight is Guy Smith, the director of Milwaukee County Parks, is interested in talking to you folks specifically about your ideas and needs on parks and any ideas you may have to bail Milwaukee County Parks out. I will tell you, I told them they ought to be getting rid of most of their parks, but when they get rid of a park, they also get rid of the tax levy that's currently levied for it, so that it's not a cash grab by the county. Even like that. But life stuff. So that's the purpose of this. Any questions about this? This is available online from the Wisconsin Policy Forum. There's several other on there also, but in case you want to read it.
Would Mr. Smith want to come to? Would Mr. Smith want to come to a future meeting, or?
I don't know what his plan is. I think he may be doing that to placate me because he knows I'm mad at him.
Does that get into specifics as far as framing, turn it into Pickleball USA?
It does not talk about individual parks like that.
Okay.
It's the big picture of where do we go from here. I did discuss Fleming Park with the mayors, and I'll give you an update on that. To get the county to give us acreage, they know this? Sure?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been discussed.
Well,
How to get a closed session.
just got now. The county supervisor that handles Fleming Park, we engaged him. That handles Fleming Park, we engaged him, Alderman Hanneman and I, and he took it to the county finance committee and put $300,000 in next year's budget, which, if you think about it, was the dumbest thing he could have done. Because now the Parks Commission has no control over which parks they improve. Now this one gets improved, which overall is good, but it also costs them $300,000 that they don't have, and it took our deal out of the mix, which would have been free. So.
That this particular county supervisor is not running for re-election, and the budget still has to pass the full board.
Which means?
It's likely going to.
There you go. So then we don't get the deal and we don't get the tennis courts.
Which they were going to go for pickleball courts.
Right. Yeah.
As part of this.
Don't. Are you channeling me?
Yes.
Any questions on that or anything else? Okay. So I got yelled at. Anything else? Okay. So I got yelled at as walking out the door, so I.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr.
See you guys
Mayor.
later.
Thanks, sir.
Mayor.
I guess we'll move on to number 3, the approval of the minutes from the Parks Tour on October 9th.
Motion to approve as,
October 9th.
motion to approve as is.
Second.
All in favor?
Wait,
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Sounds fantastic. You got it? Okay. We will move on to item number 4. Could we have an update on parks maintenance, gentlemen?
Yes, parks maintenance, we're in the process of closing the pavilions down. The bumpers are all closed as of now. There was a couple 25 degrees. The restrooms will be closing soon. Franklin Woods, we plan on keeping Franklin Woods and Pleasantview open, at least one restroom at each location will be open all year. And then also soon closing will be the tennis. We're doing a fall cleanup right now, cleaning up some leaves, especially at Lightning where there's a lot of trees. And cutting down the yearly things to clean up the parks. So, there's some maintenance at Kayla's playground, steering wheels on the boats, some new seat belts on the blue chair swings. Probably do a little more over the winter when we have a little more time. But I guess that's about it as far as park maintenance goes. Yeah, I mentioned that. Any questions?
Have you seen anyone using a buddy bench?
Yeah, just for a regular bench. I've seen people use it.
Okay.
I don't think they were looking for a button or anything, but
Did you go sit with them?
no. I don't know if I can do it.
Did you go sit with them?
No. I don't know if I can do that on city time.
No, it's public.
I can't be anybody's buddy on city time.
Quit trying to give him trick questions, man.
Trying to get me in trouble.
It looks rather nice, so.
No,
It's public.
I can't be anybody's buddy on city time.
Quit trying to give him trick questions, man.
Trying to get me in trouble.
It looks rather nice, so.
No, I see people sitting at it, so it's getting used. So.
Fantastic. I guess we will we'll move ahead to item B, uniform signage for all parks. I believe Shelley was working on this.
Yeah. So back in April, the commission had approved the signage we have in Franklin. So that is on the right-hand side, the Gazebo Rules. Those were made for Lions Legend, Marcus Square, Ken Wendell, Vernon Bard, Pleasantview, and Franklin Woods, Kayla's Playground. And it was approved for 7 of those signs to be ordered. First, we have these current green signs that I had made you aware of at our last store. So when we talked, I talked to the sign developer, and he said that we could do both and merge these together, so we don't have a lot of signs on top of one another. And I think together where he added the no golf, leash, curb, and clean up after your dog, and motorized vehicles.
I think the sign looks good. It's got the new logo, and thank you.
So we can merge those over. And I did put on there additional wording for a new sign. We could do the park hours on there as well. Which I don't think, now that I'm looking at it, is included. No, we'd have to put the park hours down till dusk if you feel that that's necessary. One other thing, I know for Pleasantview, we had ordered 2 of them, so we had approved for 7, but I'd like to ask the commission to have 7, but I'd like to ask the commission to have 2 for Kayla's Playground, just because where the green sign is located, it's right near the Circle Drive, not next to the pavilion. So if you guys think that it's appropriate to have one in the Circle Drive as they enter, and then also one at the pavilion, that's something for discussion possibly.
What is the cost of each sign?
Mary, do you have that data from April?
Is it like 250, 300? And is that something like in Kevin's massive budget he could take on?
Well, there's been quite a few increases, so
Yeah.
we'll have to see what we
Sure.
Well, 7 were approved already. It was just the asking for one more.
The producer of this, I have the table. It was approved.
Sure. Those we could always come back to the cost and go from there.
I think it was under 300, so it was mid.
Definitely. They're the metal signs.
Mhm. And I do agree, it's probably appropriate there to have the two signs, as you suggest.
The minutes say 165.
Oh, it's okay.
So, and you did approve, yeah, it was 7.
Was it 7? So then I would just, if we want to add that park hours from dawn to dusk, you could add that in there as well. I don't
Sure.
know if you have to
I
prove
think
that
that's-
as a commission or whatnot, but.
Is that something we think we need a motion on to change that? We need a motion on to change that?
I mean, you may as well.
Sure. I guess could we have a motion to change the verbiage?
I'll move to change the verbiage of the signs to include the park hours being dawn to dusk.
Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Sure. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
And as far as the 8th sign goes, can we just order, and I know a local company that will sponsor them? Let's get this off our agenda. Is that cool? Is that doable? Is that reasonable? Okay.
I could meet you halfway.
Yeah, we can.
That particular business, I could meet halfway.
Just stop in for dinner and drink, spend some money. I
Okay, that's not part of the motion, though.
think. No.
Quid pro quo, I don't know that we will.
We'll turn the recording off.
Ethics statements comes up later.
Yeah. We'll save that one for last.
Have you signed it yet?
No. Excellent. I guess we'll move on to letter C. 2022 Parks Budget Commission request for capital outlay fund needs, equipment revolving fund needs, street improvement fund needs, and major capital expenditures to be made with borrowed funds.
So in your packet, I'm trying to, I include stuff from the mayor's proposed budget, budget that went before the common council, but I won't talk over President Glenn for this. I just wanted you to see that the items that you had requested, several of them did make it into both the capital improvement program. So I should have numbered these pages better. DPW budget. And there's useful information here about staff time as well as activity measures, et cetera. And then the capital improvement program. So you of course will recall that you worked through a list of requests. The new commissioner will not. And then the capital improvement program. So you of course will recall that you worked through a list of requests. The new commissioner will not have been part of this process, but you've compiled a list of requests for amenities that you'd like to see in requirements. And so those are reflected in the budget. Requests, the new commissioner will not have been part of this process, but you've compiled a list of requests for amenities that you'd like to see in requirements. And so those are reflected in the budget. For the capital improvements budget, this is kind of over the next 5 years. So this will, park equipment in here, resurfacing the tennis parks, the water tower park design and construction, Jack Workman's tennis court, etc. So if you have specific questions about it, let us know. Otherwise, it was primarily informational so you can see the progress on your requests.
It looks like you're having a reduction in staff, where you have 24 employees and it's down to 23 and a third, but you're losing a seasonal position to gain a full-time one.
Right.
Well, you think that'll decrease any of the services that you guys are able to provide?
Good help. And so we just want to give this a try for one labor year-round and do away with the summer help and see if maybe this will get us in a little bit better of personnel, because we're going to be able to up the pay a little bit. We're hoping that person will be a little bit more. We're just drawing straws, to
Sure.
be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm people like you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
same thing.
Summer help is few and far between, and we're just trying it,
Sure.
seeing what happens. But we're hoping with the year-round personnel help, we're going to give it a try.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions or comments? No? Excellent. Well, thank you. I guess if there's further, we'll move on to the next letter here. So we'll jump on to letter D, park permit fees and deposits for rental of pavilions and other facilities at all Franklin parks.
So at I think it was 2 meetings ago, we did the park permit fee and security. 2 meetings ago, we did the park permit fee and security deposit increases, and on doing a little bit more look at it and considering what other communities do and some issues that have arisen we have 2 different style parks. We have the open air and the enclosed. So the open air ones, when we rent those out, we have a hard time when there's damage done, how do you say, because we don't go immediately and check the parks. If someone rents it till 9 but leaves at 5, and they say, well, it was great when I left, but somebody else must have came and did something. Our person goes at 9 because that's what the permit says. So now, how do we charge someone for damage if we didn't go there till 9 to check? But then on the other hand, they rented it till 9. Do we hold them responsible even though they're not there? So, looking at the security deposits, I decided I was bringing this to you. I know originally I said $250, but I'm almost to the point of how do we I don't want to say accuse, but someone of something if I can't guarantee it. I mean, I feel kind of where the two enclosed places, Ken Wendell and Pleasantview, I put that at 200 because we know who was in there. They're locked when they're done. Yeah. We know exactly what went on. The open air ones I put at 150 just because I don't really know how much strength we're going to have in enforcing it. And I'm really getting a lot of kickback from renters about it. So, so that explains the security deposit. I know I had asked for 250, but I kind of looked back and this is what I'm thinking, and I'm hoping you some feedback or
Sure.
agree to it.
On the permits, is there, when you have somebody working the evening, do they carry like a patrol phone or anything along those lines?
Ann, who's our parks person at night, she does have a phone,
Sure,
and she tries to go there when she knows it's over.
sure.
Yes, the patron to snap a picture with the.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could, that or on the permit, if you could put, if leaving prior to end time, please call, and then that person can come back and meet him and check him out. Or that way, you know, if I'm leaving at 6, you let her know, she can swing by earlier and take a look at it too. That puts a lot more on.
You know, I pay her basically an hour, hour and a half at night to go around lock.
Sure, yeah.
So if I have her come in
It worked the
right
whole,
away through the day, you know, I'm
yeah.
Cameras would be nice.
Backing up, had mentioned to me, was it the day after we did our parks tour at Kiln Windle, and there was damage that night. How was that resolved, and did we get any recourse in terms of with the people who did the damage? Are they paying to get resolved, or I mean, granted, this is a type of situation where we knew who had it.
So on theirs, there was, at this time, there was a $100 deposit, a security deposit. So I held back the whole thing and I told the renter why I did it. She proceeded to first say a whole nother door, but then she proceeded to tell me that, well, the cake fell into the wall. It wasn't a cake.
Is it a cake?
But no, she got the whole deposit. She didn't argue with that.
No.
No. Because we knew exactly it was her own. So that was $100. So it was a cake.
Is it a cake?
But no, she got the whole deposit. She didn't argue with that.
No.
No. Because we knew exactly it was her own. So that was $100. So it was
So, refresh my memory. When people take out the park permit.
So that was $100. So it was
So, refresh my memory. When people take out the park permit, do we specifically say on there that you can be held liable for any damage?
I have a permit in front of me,
Yeah,
but I
I'm trying
believe
to-
it is somewhere written in there that you are liable for the damages.
Okay. Over and above the security deposit.
That, I have talked to some other communities, and then they just deducted, you know, just so much amount for the they pay, I think, a $2 minimum for labor. But I'm truly thinking 200 for the labor, you know, for stuff like drywall. If it gets really severe, somebody really did some damage, press charges and that. But I'm thinking for stuff like this with the hole in the wall and stuff like that.
Okay.
But maybe that is something we should put on our permits, that you can be held liable for any
damages.
and all damages.
Yeah, I kind of think
exceeding
that's,
security deposit.
yeah.
Does everyone feel comfortable with the security deposit I put here? 200 at both San Wendell and Pleasantview, and the rest would be 150.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with
That
that.
makes good sense.
I think so.
And then the park rentals are what's in red, and that's the new amount that would be charged. And then 2 columns over, non-residents would be an additional either 150 or 175, depending on the group size. And I'm not picking on any one certain group, but I've said it before that non-residents seem to do they're the ones I cringe about when I see a non-resident permit.
Sure.
So,
Makes sense.
Do we have any idea how many non-resident permits we issue a year?
quite a few.
That's quite a few?
I have to go back and look and, quite a few.
That's quite a few?
I have to go back and look and, I don't want to say 50-50, but I thought it was 60-40,
Oh, yeah? So significant, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
especially Kayla's.
Sure.
Do we need a motion to approve this? Fantastic. May we have one from someone?
Sure. I'll move that we approve the new and revised permit fees for 2022 for our park rentals, as noted in the handout from Kevin.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you for this, Kevin.
Thank you. We will jump to letter E. Proposal by the City of Franklin Lions Club to donate a bench from the City of Franklin Recycle Community Event to be placed in a City of Franklin park.
So I put this item back on the agenda. I don't know that I have images for it, Kevin, but you discussed it at a meeting that I was not present for. So I don't have pictures for it.
We actually, Dale picked it up. Dale picked it up from them the other day.
Okay.
So Dale has it. But this does bring up a certain thing that I hope we can talk about. I think we need to, as a park commission, we need to establish to be a specific type of event in our park that would be different from our normal ones, so it can be noticed as a donated one, but that we keep it all one type, just for maintenance purposes.
Absolutely.
Because we're trying to put different materials in, and we each get installed different ones, and get some of that poly recyclable wood, so I think we need to maybe look if I can bring some back. I'm really liking the one that was, I think we were with the one for Tony.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Yeah.
So maybe that should be our standard donated type. Our standard donated type. Thank you, Mary. That was a good
That
one.
was Dale.
May I suggest maybe coming up with some standards overall, like for things that are donated to the parks, not just standards overall, like for things that are donated to the parks, not just benches. So,
Trees and everything.
yeah. And then the commission can review that at your next meeting, because it is like a perennial request. The benches specifically, but putting other stuff in the parks as well. So.
Made a note of that. I guess we'll move on to new business. We'll skip letter B till the end. Statement of revenues and expenses for the 9 months ended September 30th, 2021.
Yep, so in addition to the budget information, this is an overall overview of park revenue and expenses for the first 3 quarters of this year. I've not had a chance to review this, so it's primarily informational. Year-to-date totals. Park 266. Total expenses for general operations of $242,949. Total outlay, landscaping, trees, etc. So if the commission has any questions about this, and then 157,217. So this is, the Director of Finance provides these to you roughly quarterly. There will be a new Director of Finance coming on board at some point, as the current one has retired. So this is retired. So this is for the commission's information, and if you have questions about it, let me know. So.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Did we say yes, we approve this, or did
We approved the donated bench a while ago.
to accept it?
Yeah.
But now we want it to be uniform?
We're going to bring that up in December.
Okay,
In December.
okay.
All right. Well, I guess we will jump to the back page. City of Franklin Code of Conduct and Ethics for elected and appointed officials.
So in your packet was a copy of the resolution adopting the Code of Conduct and ethics for elected and appointed officials. This is something that a standard that the Common Council holds themselves to, and all volunteers as well as elected officials are asked to sign this code of ethics. So if you have questions about the Director of Administration, Peggy Stino, she's more than happy to answer any of them. I know in my other commissions, those folks have wanted to take a little time to review it and set a deadline at their next meeting in December to return it. So I would just ask that you guys, if you haven't already signed it and want to have questions you want to resolve. Any questions?
I would like to take time to review this, and we can set a deadline to return these in December if that works for everyone.
Yep, so you're welcome to bring them back sooner.
Sure.
But at your next meeting, if you haven't already done so, please bring them back. So.
Yes, I have it.
Awesome.
Yep, I mean,
So I know there's a section on social media, which I need to have a discussion with the Director of Administration about to find out more about it, but that was definitely a surprise for some of my other commissioners, so I just want to draw your attention to it. So. Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to F. Review of statement of qualifications for park design firms for future design services.
So I put some pages.
For future design services.
So I put some pages in your packet from statement of qualifications for two firms that the city engineer and I, well, I think talked to some more reasons today, but these are folks who we would ask to help design. But in your packets, so they got on the letter with the scope, some examples, and then like a project plan. So
As you know, we've been talking about possibly making a park down by the landfill. It's what I've been calling the waste management properties, the properties that's supposed to be put in the city when we ask for it. So we initially approached two firms. They seemed to come with good qualifications. Stantec was a firm.
Abendschein?
Abendschein, thank you so much. So they did Abendschein Park, and they in Oak Creek had glowing comments to say about them. R.A. Smith, we've also heard some very good things, some of the parks. So those are the two firms we approached and said, if we were to hire you to do this park, what would it look like? That kind of scope. Out of respect for Stantec, we're not showing you their proposal. It had several embarrassments that you guys would laugh about for quite a while. But even if I could get back some of the typos that were throughout the proposal, they had some really cool projects that they worked on, but nothing. They had some really cool projects that they worked on, but nothing at all. Well, I shouldn't say nothing, but Aberdeen was about as close as I would say is what we kind of imagined for our
And
parks.
do you think Abendschein is in Franklin?
I was going to say they mislabeled that.
What's that?
They think Abendschein is in Franklin.
Yeah, that was one of their typos. I
On this
think.
page here, we got that.
Franklin.
Yeah, that was one of their typos. I
On this
think.
page here, we got that.
So yeah, you caught that. So it appears that they took a proposal for some other community, possibly Oak Creek, and just did a word search and replace automatic. So yeah, Franklin shows up throughout their proposal for Oak Creek projects, and some other issues. I talked to them. Even if I could get past that, like I said, that was the only park that I really saw that was similar to what I imagined one of these parks may look like, our parks. They had some really cool projects, some on the dock, bays, and those kinds of things. So beautiful parks, but nothing that really relates to what we're at. So,
Sure.
Having said that, we also talked to R.A. Smith. R.A. Smith had a lot of nice, actually, I didn't realize they were involved in so many of our Franklin parks. Seemed to really talk about it. The only, if you will, detriment to the R.A. Smith one was they really had emphasis on talking to staff and you, and then coming up with a plan, then showing the public. And so I talked to them. I said, I think we really need to at least include one or possibly two process before we finalize, and they agreed. So
they would increase their proposal. So I don't have that. Meanwhile, back at the farm, I'm not so sure that that the park on 112th Street is actually going to be the park. There's been some discussion on said for open session issues, but so there is a discussion. So both firms knew up front that we were going to grade them on the waste management parcel, but it could be for any other park in that area. So having said that, if and when the park project progresses, I would highly recommend the DRA Smith. Seem to be sufficient, except I asked them to include a couple more meetings, or at least a couple other methods to solicit public input. The cost of their fee is going to be roughly about $25,000. I don't select consultants based on price, but just so you know, it's roughly half of what. I don't select consultants based on price, but just so you know, it's roughly half of what Stantec was proposing. So. Again, I wouldn't recommend you hire someone just based on fee, because you can spend 20 times that, for the process. But given the fact that I feel like they have the best proposal, and they will they will increase their fee up to include some public input in the process. I would recommend that if and when we proceed to develop a park in the southwest area, that we ask RA Smith to proceed. So if I could have I would suggest if you could make a motion to recommend we develop a park, that would be appreciated, but I'm open to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question for the commission about the scope, if you wouldn't mind entertaining me. So one of the things that Glenn alluded to that I think is important is that public input will be really important for any park design, and obviously you guys will be a part of that. Do you have thoughts about what that looks like? Because you will have a future agenda item for the Ryan Creek Trail, and we'll have a meeting here with the designers of that. We'll have a meeting here with the designers of that. But I'm kind of wondering how much public input you think is necessary, and if you think it's important to do it elsewhere in the city besides City Hall, that kind of thing. So Glenn and I have talked a little bit about this, but
I can tell you that I had, I think, great public interest. I solicited some surveys. The GIS department helped me put together some surveys for the potential trail on Forest Home.
Yep.
And I was amazed at the output we had, trail on Forest Home.
Yep.
And I was amazed at the output we had, and it was kind of nice. That was a nice tool that showed where the responders were from. And although we had responses from all over, including some outside the city, the cluster of them was in the area where folks who think would be interested, would use it. It was a case study, if you will, that I thought worked very well for targeting the areas where we were hoping to get responses from. And it was nice that because out of the 79 responses, there were 4 that were very much everything anti-city. So it's nice, 4 versus 75 is pretty overwhelming that folks were in favor of, trails and recreation, and we phrased the questions in such a way that, even folks that don't ride bicycles out there now, would you use it if we had one, or do you think it's a good idea if we had one? Those kinds of questions.
Is that to the public? Is that something that kind of spurred
So it was
a different strategy
yeah.
that spurred more?
So we had flyers we put on trails around the city. So that, maybe, and we gave a few to Lynn Sprocket. So that was probably the extent of our biasing the results. Alderman, and said, please put them up at your favorite eating establishments, watering holes, and so forth. Of course, it was advertised on our city website. It was talked about.
Do you put it in the newsletter?
We did not have time to put it in the newsletter, but it was, we tried those issues. So if we knew we had, but it was, we tried those issues. So if we knew we had. The problem with the newsletter is you need to know so far ahead. It only comes out 4 times a year, and you have to get it right then. And even then, there's a big lead time by the time the articles are done, by the time that actually goes out to the public. So that's not really conducive for a survey. That's not really conducive for a survey that's open for, a week or 2 weeks kind of thing. So, but I would suspect we'd probably do the same thing again. I would probably give you copies of the flyer and encourage you to tell whoever, your focus groups.
Would there be any, are we talking any in-person great renderings, drawings? Because I think that's very important to have that versus just a survey.
Yes.
And I'd also, obviously, for a park of this magnitude, it's what, 150 acres, or,
Yes.
to have more than one. Just because then you can alleviate that, I didn't know about it. Well, gosh golly, we had 3 of these things.
The area, maybe, I don't know what is in the area, but we would try to find some sort of public place in the area.
Is that room at the library big enough?
It has a capacity of
Something like that, I think might work.
Just so you know, and you guys can tell me if you prefer otherwise, but I always tell consultants that I prefer an open forum. When you have like one presentation, you tend to get the local folks who are against everything stand up and you give them an audience to preach to, and I don't like to do that. So if you have, even if it's the same drawing at 5 different, and I don't like to do that. So if you have, even if it's the same drawing at 5 different spots around the room, somebody can monopolize a conversation, but then you find everyone else tends to get away from that because they're really there to hear what's going on.
Good idea.
I like what we did with the initial UDO meetings, even though we didn't have a great turnout, but where they had the different renderings and then some questions to answer, and you could just write your answers and stick them up on the board next to it. But I do agree that the meetings are incredibly important, but I like a follow-up with the survey, because what's nice about the survey is that you get quantifiable results. Sometimes it's hard when we're having that open house forum type situation to the wants of each individual attendee. You get a general feel for things, and it's great to have that verbal conversation, but I think then having them follow up with filling out the survey so we can really track what the sentiments are.
Hopefully COVID never comes back, but that was very difficult doing the meetings I did for COVID, because again, I found where someone's has a really bad perspective of whatever the project was, and I basically gave them an audience to preach to, and
Sure.
that wasn't helpful.
Yeah, they monopolized it. Yeah. It's unfortunate.
And I would follow up with that too. I had a little town hall meeting last week on some fairly good sized projects in my district, and there were some people who came in very much with that attitude, but then having the opportunity to really look and talk through and put some faces to the projects, I think people left very happy and not so scared.
And it was a come and go kind of.
It was very much a come and go, open house, very casual. And
There's 2 sides to everything.
exactly.
And that second side isn't always presented in the right way.
And you just can't underestimate the human contact portion of it.
And by no means I don't want to diminish the objections to a project, but
No,
there's a project,
no.
but there's a point when they you said your piece, now you can
Let's
everybody
move
else-
on. Yeah. Understandable. Well, we're looking for a motion, I guess, to approve R.A. Smith if and when we go ahead with the project.
You could take
We go ahead with the project.
you could take a motion in support of that, I think.
Yeah, so when it comes time, we should do a project, and we'll go to comm council. It'd be nice to say on November 8th, talk to Plan Commission or Parks Commission. We made a motion to do Plan Commission or Parks Commission. We made a motion to recommend this.
I'll make that motion.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Well, that's a switch.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. In favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. The last item for new business is the appointment of a secretary by the chairperson. Unless we have volunteers, I would like to table this until next month. New Commissioner Malecki or Commissioner Coonan would have any interest in taking on the roles.
Maybe Dave.
Dave can't. He's the vice. So if we don't have volunteers, I guess we'll table this until the next meeting.
No, but I have something to say.
Absolutely.
I was writing, and when I'm writing, wasn't thinking fast enough. I just had two questions, or two things to say. When we talked, I really liked where DPW put Tony's bench. I liked that it was near I think more benches should be along trails and sidewalks so people can rest. And I wanted to say that when we were talking benches. And then another thing, when we were talking signs, I always thought piñatas were specifically mentioned. And now I was reading it, and it is. As I thought a while back, we said nobody wanted piñatas anymore.
We decided to eliminate piñata because we thought it included certain groups. So we went with silly string, confetti, and everything that would be found inside of a piñata.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. That was all.
Excellent. I would like to welcome new Commissioner Malecki to the group. Thank you for joining us. Excellent. If nobody else has any.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that, but
No.
when it comes to the piñatas, are you saying they're okay or not?
No, we don't want them, but we thought by specifically saying piñata that it was going against a certain group.
Picking out a certain ethnic.
Yes, an ethnic group. So that's why we included everything that's inside of them. Yes, an ethnic group. So that's why we included everything that's inside of them. But yeah, we didn't want to single somebody out. So
Okay. I understand. Thank you.
no problem. I guess if we have nothing else.
Next meeting date?
Yeah.
13th, is that right?
December 13th? Ooh.
That's all right. Second.
Ooh.
That's all right. Second.
Hopefully we can end early to go watch Hallmark movies.
That's all up to you, sir.
You haven't gotten enough of them already? They've only been on since the 4th of July.
Christmas in July.
You can never get enough.
Actors. My wife watches them all the time, so.
Excellent.
I make the motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Can we have a second?
I'd love to second that. Oh.
Fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nope.
The ayes have it. We'll see you guys.